So, first, I want to say hello, welcome everybody, especially everybody from BioCrew, everybody who's been paying attention to everything that's going on out there. I wanted to get on here and just get an opportunity to talk to all of you, tell you what's going on here, what's going on in the industry. There's so much happening out there. A lot of questions are being asked me every single day, so I thought this was a good way to sit down with you guys and answer your questions, see what's on your mind, tell you what's happening, what to expect this year, and overall just kind of like a state of the union of NutraBio, and do a Q&A with you so you can better get an understanding of what's happening out there. So we announced this last week to see if we can get an idea of what people wanted to talk about or concerned about, and the biggest things obviously were the supply chain, and this is not a supply chain conversation today, so I know there are a lot of industry people that thought this was going to be one of my supply chain updates. It is not. This is more for NutraBio customers, BioCrew, to give them an idea of how that supply chain is affecting NutraBio and everything else, new products, everything that's going on here. So it's not going to be an industry update on supply chain. But most of the questions I've been getting lately are either supply chain, new products, EndurElite, bringing on EndurElite into the NutraBio family is a lot of concern or questions with how that's going to affect things. So I wanted to talk about that, my signature series. So I kind of want to address each of these and then go through all the questions that you guys have, so you have a better idea of what's happening with NutraBio. So let's start with the supply chain. I'm not going to go too far into detail. If you want to know more about it, you can go on to the NutraBio blog. I have a section there for supply chain. I've done, 8 or 9 updates for the industry itself, going on over what's going on and what to expect. Basically, the supply chain's issue, crisis, if you want to call it, has been going on, 8 or 9 months, really, really bad, and it's affected the dietary supplement industry dramatically, just about every industry dramatically. I know the media and the news hasn't even started talking about it to the last 2 or 3 months, but anybody who owns a business out there and is involved in running a business knows that the supply chain has been devastating. What's it done to the dietary supplement industry? Well, no ingredients. It's been a short supply of ingredients. Some we can't get at all. You guys know the creatine issue, where there's pretty much been no creatine on the marketplace, and the creatine that's been available has been just really high in price. Whey protein has been just as bad, but everything has been. Our ability to get bottles has gone from a 2-3 week lead time to a 3 month, 6 month, year lead time. Our ability to get capsules to create all of our encapsulated products. 2 of the main manufacturers don't even return phone calls anymore, and are 6 months to a year out before they'll even take new customers. Bottles, impossible. We have caps that we can't get, paper that we can't get, machinery and equipment. It has been a crazy ride for the last year to try and manufacture. But we've made it through. To give you an idea, we went from I would say a 2 to 3 month manufacturing process, where we know what we're manufacturing going on for maybe up to 90 days so that we can schedule everything out. And at one point, maybe 3 months ago, we were down to a 1 to 2 day manufacturing cycle, where we'd have to have our entire team sitting here every single morning to discuss. We might have 150 products that we had to manufacture in that given period, and out of 150, 145 of them were missing something. We're missing an ingredient, a cap, a box, a bottle, seal. Something was missing from all of these, and this was kind of industry-wide. You didn't see it as bad in NutraBio as you did with a lot of brands. Many brands have closed. Many brands have closed down, product lines or products. You didn't see it as bad with us, is because we do our own manufacturing, where most companies, probably 999 out of 1,000 brands out there do not manufacture. So they had to go to contract manufacturers. There was lead times went from 6 to 8 weeks up to maybe 6 months or more in some cases. And, it's just been crazy. So we kind of made it through because the industry's made fun of me for 20 years now for manufacturing my own products, but it looks like it all came back around this last couple months. So things we had to do, for example, we were expecting, let's say, 300,000 kilos of cluster dextrin, not 300,000, 30,000 kilos of cluster dextrin come in, and we'd get 3. So what do? Do we let a lot of products go in back order? No, what we do is we would take all of our cluster dextrin products and manufacture small amounts of all of them. So we can keep the shelves filled. We can keep you with all of those products, pre-extreme, super carb, everything like that, instead of just putting it all into one. It costs us a lot more to do that because we've got to bring in these small batches, these small lots of raw material. We've got to test all that raw material. Then we got to manufacture small lots of raw material, maybe we were down to literally making a 2-week supply of leg day instead of a 2 to 3 month supply of leg day, and then we'd have to make it every 2 weeks over and over again. So that cost is exorbitant, but our goal was to make sure all of these products were in your hands as best as we could, and I think we did it pretty well. The supply chain crisis is still going on. Ingredients coming from China is still a problem. Transportation is still a problem. We source everything we can here at NutraBio from the U.S. if we can, but we can't because amino acids and things like that are predominantly made in China. To me, it doesn't matter for quality where it's made because when it gets here, I'm going to test it 100 different ways to make sure it's exactly what I want it to be. So that's not my concern. My concern is just getting materials in. So what does it mean to you? You've seen over the last 8 months or so where we have been back ordered on a lot more products than normal. I think there was a period where we had 120 products on back order. So it's affected you guys in that manner. You've seen huge price increases out there. These are not price increases that we're putting on the product so that we can make more money. These are things that we've got to do because our costs have gone up. So if you look at creatine monohydrate, for example, it has gone up 700% in the last 8 months. So where creatine used to be a commodity item, where we were charging $19.99 for a kilo, now we're charging $30-something for 300 grams because the price is 700 to 800% higher, and probably 95% of the companies on the market could not even get creatine, so it disappeared. There are times where there was only 1 or 2 brands on Amazon. GNC did not even have creatine. They announced it last week that they had it back in stock. I went and looked at it. It was gone by the time I even saw the announcement, and all they had were some caps and some creatine HCLs and other stuff. So it's just been devastating to get products out there and for consumers to get them, and the prices have been devastating. I mean, you're looking at it now with fuel and gas, but that's what's been happening in our industry for a while. So what's going to happen with it? I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows when it's going to turn around. We had hoped it would turn around first Q this year, but first Q is just about done, and it's not any better at all. We can look at whey protein, and if you guys, I know that's one of our primary products, you guys are taking it out there. Whey protein is 3 times higher now than it was 5 months ago. Literally, it's 300%. So the cost of a tub of protein has gone up 3-fold for us. But it's not just the creatine. The containers are more expensive. The labels are more expensive. The flavor systems are more expensive. Shipping is more expensive. We used to bring in a container, let's say, of creatine from China. It would cost us $2,800. That rose at one point to $31,000 to bring it in from China. And sometimes we couldn't even bring it into New York. We'd have to bring it into California. And instead of paying $1,800 to $2,000 to get it from California here, we paid $8,000 to $9,000 just to get a truckload of something from California to here. So the prices were hitting the entire industry from every single avenue. Since I manufacture, I got wind of this way early. That's why I started doing all those updates to the entire industry. So we did prepare for it. We knew last year that COVID was going to create supply chain issues. We didn't realize the rest of this was going to happen, but to combat it, we opened a 30,000 square foot distribution center about 6 miles from here. And we used that to be able to get distribution out of this facility, so we had more warehousing here, so we can bring in more material. That's why you saw us have creatine more than anybody else out there. We didn't have as much shortages because we invested tremendously in what we thought was going to happen. It was a risk, but my whole thing is to protect my customers, those people who believe in NutraBio, believe in our products, and are using them every day, and all of a sudden they don't get their extreme joint care, they don't get their protein, and it changes their daily cycles. And we invested heavily in that, and because of that, I think we did much better than most of the industry. That distribution center is fully operational. We are planning just to give you some ideas, we're planning a new protein factory very soon that we did put off because there is no protein out there. Whey isolate is not just expensive to buy, you just can't get it. We've dealt with the same dairy manufacturing facility for over 12 years. And when you build relationships like that, you get protected. And my whole feeling when I'm running this business is I don't nickel and dime my vendors. I want relationships with them. I don't go back and forth to save a penny here, whatever. As long as they're treating me fairly, as long as we're getting a fair price, I want to build that long-term relationship. And I've been criticized for that as well. But when the supply chain crisis hit, we were very protected. I got most of my ingredients into the best of the ability of these guys, where a lot of companies were just shut down completely. So yeah, this crisis is worse than you could ever imagine, worse than I can sit here and explain in a few minutes, much worse than the media is telling you, but it's crippled a lot of companies, it's crippled an industry and many industries. But we made it through. We're now at the point where we have the least amount of back orders in the history of NutraBio. I got a little scared, I think it was yesterday morning, because my team came in, manufacturing manager and quality assurance manager, and they were kind of freaking out because they didn't want to tell me that our machinery, some of it, 3 or 4 lines, were down like 50-60% of the time for the last couple of weeks. So we sat down and we looked at it and we realized, well, we really don't have any back orders. We have just a handful, and we're waiting for material. So it's not the issue that we had 6 months ago. We are fully stocked in just about everything. Our sales haven't dropped. They're there. Everything is just going right now. So we changed everything we do as far as manufacturing in the last 6 months, and those systems have enabled us to get caught up. When you're not getting the material in, there are still ways to make it work. And I'll give you an example. We get a truckload of whey isolate, and we used to make out of that truckload vanilla and chocolate, and that would be it. And then the next truckload would come in 2 days later. We'd make the next one. That didn't work here because we'd use it up, and all of a sudden we'd be back ordering 7 other flavors. So now we take that truckload and we make the entire assortment of every product we have at one time for a certain period. Much more expensive because, again, small lots that we're making, and we have to test every one of those lots. So the expense is much higher, but we are able to keep out of that back order situation. So that's kind of the state of the union in NutraBio and what's going on here. Prices are expensive, but our back orders are the lowest we've been. We've been able to fix that. We've been able to clean it up, so we're getting stuff to you. Not everything, obviously. There's still some back orders, but we're doing the best we can, and I think we're doing much better than most of the people out there. And so I'm kind of proud of my team here. I have an amazing team, a group of people, from my QA people out on the floor to manufacturing to every single person in his office. These people have seriously busted their asses. 5:30 comes and people aren't even looking at a clock. They're here till 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, whatever it takes during this crisis this last year. And we tried to make it as seamless to you as possible. So I can't tell you when any of this is going to turn around. Some things will turn around product by product. Creatine has become available in the last 2 to 3 weeks a bit better. Prices have dropped, so we dropped it a little bit already. As we get more price increases, we're going to immediately drop. We're not putting these prices where they are and leaving it. The second we get it less expensive, we can manufacture it, we're going to drop that price immediately to you. Whey isolate is going the opposite direction. It keeps increasing, and increasing. So I don't know where it's going. I don't know. It's going to get to a point where you won't even bear it. You can't even buy it anymore. But understand, we're not gouging here. We're making less margin, less profit than we ever have. Our whole goal here is just to get you the product in the same quality we've always done, to get it to you as quickly as we can without inconveniencing your lives if you're counting on us for that, and to make sure that we can price it properly. So we're going to be upping and downing that as well. It used to be we'd increase our price every year to 2 to 3 years. Now with this market, you can't. You've got to look at it. Something, give you something that, so you don't know how to compare it, but like L-carnitine. Okay, it used to be $29 a kilo. Now it's $59 a kilo. You're talking double. And you do that to 5 or 10 ingredients in a product, and you see where it goes with it. You have to make changes quickly. So you can expect that for a while. We're going to do the best we possibly can to make sure your products are in your hands and your products are as low in cost to you as we can possibly make them. Now, one of the questions, I'm going to skip out of order here, is about quality. I mean, and the question is, how does the supply chain crisis affect the quality of NutraBio? And it says it's got to. And no, it doesn't have to. And it has not affected the quality of NutraBio at all, because I have not released a single product from this facility that was any lower in spec than I would before. And that's because I will not take the ingredients in if they are lower and don't meet our specifications. I would rather not sell you the product than sell out and sell you something that's lower quality. So I guarantee to you right now, and you can be 100% confident, that the isolate or the creatine or the extreme mass or whatever you're buying today is the exact same quality as it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, unless we've improved functions and processes along the way to make it better. But there is no way I'm going to let it go out here any lower in quality than it's ever been before. And we have a lot of issues. I mean, there's a lot of games that are being played out there. A lot of people are screwing with us. You know, I'll give you an example. We ordered an ingredient the other day from a vendor we bought from for years. We got the C of A, and there was something fishy about the C of A. We didn't order it yet, but it wasn't from the manufacturer. It was from the vendor, who was a distributor. It had their letterhead on it. So we said, you know, we didn't qualify you as a manufacturer. We qualified the manufacturer. So we have to see their official C of A before we can do anything, before we can take this product in. The C of A came in, and the manufacturer's C of A did not match the C of A they originally gave us. One had a 2-year life on it, and the manufacturer's was already expired. Hold on one sec. I don't want to lose it here. Okay. So we called the company. I'm like, well, what's going on here? You're giving us a C of A that says it's good for 2 years, and now the manufacturer says it's expired, and their reasoning was, well, we've tested it, and it's been approved for 2 more years. Okay, well then send us that test result from the lab. Oh, it's still there. It's not fully tested yet. We didn't get the results yet. Yeah, but you're trying to sell it to us as it's already been approved. So they were bullshitting us and lying to us. They never sent it for testing. They didn't think we'd call them on this. But we call on everything we can. We want to make sure that every single ingredient here matches the specification that it always has. And we're not going to give in 1 inch, 1/10%, 1,000% on our specifications. So we're dealing with these kind of issues every single day, because when things are scarce, ingredients are scarce, when they're expensive, when there's high demand for them, that's when these kind of games are played by manufacturers, by distributors, by the vendors in between, by all those different layers. And it's our job, it's NutraBio's job as a company who's going to hand that product to you and put our company name on it and my name on it to make sure that it does not change in quality, that I make sure whatever we gave you before is it. So we're having a lot of issues with it, and we're turning down a lot of manufacturers, and these manufacturers and these distributors that are trying to screw us and cheat us, they will not be supplying us in the future. So they're burning their own bridges because I will not keep them qualified as one of our vendors. So this is the main thing I wanted to get over today to you guys, is that expect some delays still, although we are much better than we've ever been right now, which I'm very happy. I don't know how that's going to change, because it's all going to be up to the industry and the supply that we get. But expect what you do get to be 100% or better of the quality that I have always given you guys, and be confident in that. So before we go to some of these questions, the second major thing you guys have been asking me about lately is EndurElite. Some of you are excited about it. Some of you are concerned about it. Is it going to change the quality? Are we getting too wide? So let me tell you what happened with EndurElite. EndurElite is owned by Matt Mossman. Matt Mossman is a good friend of mine. Matt Mossman is a brilliant guy, brilliant scientist. He used to work as the chief science officer here at NutraBio. And at a certain point, he decided he was a cyclist, a competitive cyclist, big into endurance. He decided he wanted to go out there and create his own brand. And he's a stand-up guy. He didn't go create it on the side and then call me up one day and say, Mark, I'm quitting tomorrow. He told me about it way in advance, a year in advance, and it worked out. We continued to work with him. He continued to be our chief science officer, and as he got closer and closer, his time spent here was less and less until he was ready to launch. And unlike what usually happens in this industry and most industries, both of us supported each other. He supported NutraBio by continuing to work as science officer. We supported him to get his brand open, and once his brand opened, we became friends even better, and we continued that friendship for the last 4 or 5 years. There was no, I left NutraBio because they sucked and I'm doing it. Because none of that was true. That's usually just egos that set in, and neither of us have those kind of egos, so we've had a great relationship. Matt called me up about a year ago, and he wanted to move out of this part of the industry because he was spending all his time on shipping and design and stuff, and not what he really loved to do, and that was formulation and creating the products. So we sat down for a while, and we first I didn't see it as a fit. I don't need another brand, out there. But as I looked closer and closer, I realized it was a great fit. EndurElite was created by somebody who's as passionate as I was about what he does. It's a brand that's geared exactly toward endurance athletes, runners, cyclists, a lot of and anything to do with high endurance like that, even combat and sports and stuff like that. And it's geared toward that. And he focused 100% on that. And he did it in the way that NutraBio built our product line, because for years here he learned how we do no proprietary blend and full label disclosure and full therapeutic dosage. And he built an amazing brand on the same principles as NutraBio and on the same passion that I have for what I'm doing. So I saw that as a great fit, because I'm not going to buy some company out of a shit products, proprietary blends. They say, hey, look, you can buy this out, I'll give it to you really cheap. And what do I do to you? I call you up or get on this and I say, hey, yeah, we just bought out XYZ company. The products are shipped, but I'm going to clean them up. Well, why would I do that, But this brand is a phenomenal brand. I love Matt. It seemed to be a great fit for NutraBio, because I want you to think of it as not like another brand. Like we have Unbound, we have NutraBio, we have EndurElite, we have 3 different brands. It's really more divisions. Like we're going to take EndurElite and it's going to stay exactly the way it is. It's going to be focused just on endurance athletics. It's not going to bring, heavy weight training and all this other stuff. It's going to be geared toward those people who always wanted that product. And this allows us to take our product line and diversify it a little, but hyper-focus it on what we want to do. And when I started to think about that, we have thousands and thousands of cyclists that come to NutraBio. We have thousands of runners, triathlon, all of this. But if we can work this properly with EndurElite, then we can separate and they can purchase different products between the brands that are focused on them. They might leave our pre-workout and go to EndurElite and buy an EndurElite pre-workout because it's geared more toward that activity, that athletics. So that's the idea. Originally, I was going to keep it totally separate and maybe not even announce it. That's why you end up seeing a plant protein in there that's just like ours. We're not going to duplicate anything, but originally they were going to be separate. But as soon as it started to get out and people talk about it, we realized something, that our customers and their customers and the attitudes were almost identical. They had the same passion for performance. They had the same passion for never compromising, for never quitting, for changing their life, that whole idea of having this fit life and all. It was the same type of people that we're dealing with now, but focused a little differently. So they were called the family of fast. So it came like the family of quality, invites the family of fast into one family, and automatically in BioCrew, you started to grab some of their products or ask, and they started to grab our products. So it just seemed to be a great fit overall. Where's it going to go in the future? Well, it's not going to have duplicate products. NutraBio's products aren't going to be relabeled and put in EndurElite or vice versa. The protein we did was the only thing that'll be like that. We probably won't even sell proteins. The whey proteins that are there now probably will come out of there because NutraBio focuses on those proteins and makes them the best they can. There's no need to duplicate. We want that line to be specific toward an endurance athlete. The idea there is to start working on different formulas for different sports, to work on delivery systems, because having a big tub works for somebody in the gym maybe, but doesn't work as a pre-workout for a cyclist who's on the road. So we're going to be doing gel packs maybe and different things like that that make it more convenient as a wait for the athlete to use those particular products. So delivery systems and stuff like that are going to come into play. Stick packs that they can pour into water bottles. So there's a lot we have, on the drawing board for what we're going to do. Are the products going to change is one of the questions. This person's been using the product for years. Are we going to cheapen the product? Are we going to change the product? And the answer is we will never cheapen the product. For those of you in EndurElite who don't know NutraBio, we've done a couple things over there, but there's a lot to read up on us, a lot to learn about us. The only thing that we really care about is giving our customer the best damn product we can and never, ever compromising it. And we will drop margin, we will drop profit, we will drop everything to make sure that happens. And now that, I own EndurElite, and the EndurElite customer is my customer, just like the NutraBio customer is my customer, one big family, and I will never, ever compromise on the quality of the product that you get. When you're on the site now, you'll see we rebranded. The rebrand shows you that that product is now manufactured by us, by NutraBio, so our quality standard is in there. The products are in the old containers are still manufactured, I think, by 3 or 4 different contract manufacturers out there. I'm not saying anything good or bad. I'm just saying what comes out of this facility here. This is a CGMP facility. I'm not going to talk about, you guys know it. I've said everything about it 1,000 times. But the EndurElite, the Unbound, and the NutraBio supplement, all 3 will come out with the exact quality control that we have here. So you can be happy about that. So let's look at some of the other questions. Will Mark be covering supply chain? Interested to hear your thoughts from the brand side of things. I think I kind of went over pretty much of that. If you want to know more about it, you can look at I think I did 7 or 8 blogs out there on the NutraBio site. Nothing really more to say about that. Has the supply chain affecting NutraBio quality? Here's another question about that. I kind of answered that. Just to expand on that a little, no, it will not affect quality at all. If the ingredient doesn't match, we're not going to give it to you. The only thing you might see is like a bottle change or a cap change, or maybe a black bottle is now a white bottle temporarily. So we'll make changes to get products to you that don't affect the quality, because I really couldn't give a damn if the bottle's white or black when you get it, as long as you get that product that you need. If you're taking extreme joint care because you've got issues and you want to feel the same way every day, I don't want to not give it to you, but I will not give it to you in inferior quality. But still, you'll see label changes and stuff like that, because we can't get paper, we can't get certain things in. So those kind of changes we'll make to make sure you have product, but as far as the quality, it will not deteriorate in any way whatsoever. And I can tell you, see, creatine is really bad. I got creatine samples in the other day. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with these people. They don't think I'm going to test it. It was 70% creatine and 30% maltodextrin. I don't know how anybody would even be able to take that in. The regulation requires you to identify every single ingredient. Unfortunately, the regulations for the FDA CFR 111 require you to test and scientifically validate every single batch of every single ingredient. But the industry standard, since the FDA does not tell you how to do that, is now to test it the first 3 times it comes in, and then you can validate and keep that validated for the next year or so, which means you don't even test it for the next year. NutraBio does not play by best industry standards. The FDA has adopted that best industry standard. So if I got audited today and I was testing, I tested that C of A versus that product 3 times, then the FDA would allow me to take that product in for next year. I don't fucking believe in that. I don't know what's going to happen. Every single batch that comes in here goes into my staging area next door. It doesn't leave into my production warehouse until it's tested internally, until it goes out to third-party testing, until we know it's exactly what it's supposed to be and meets every one of our specifications. So how this stuff is coming, I'm getting protein that's expired. There's a protein shortage. I never understand that. I got offers of protein the other day where all the bags were open up and they wanted me to bring them in. It's amazing the things that I'm getting offered. And there's not so much of it out there, but earlier on in this crisis, where people had warehouses full of expired ingredients and expired products and didn't know what to do with it, all that stuff is gone. Companies have pulled that all into their facilities, manufactured, and did it. NutraBio has never done that. We stick with what we do all the time. So that answers that. When do you think the supply chain will turn around? I have no idea. Parts of the supply issues will turn around on their own because they have nothing to do with the overriding issues. but we'll see. It looks like creatine's making a little headway. That hopefully will make the most headway because those factories were all just shut down and there was nothing coming out. And I hear some of those are starting to open up. We'll see. But as far as protein, all amino acids, they're up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%. Every day we're getting a new product differently. So I have no idea. I can't even guess that anymore. So I'm not going to try to. Why is everyone paying so much for creatine? What does it do? Is it worth it? Well, that's a question I didn't know either in the beginning, because creatine is a commodity item. It's a staple item that everybody uses. We don't even think about it. It's inexpensive. We take it and we use it, and rightfully so. It is the most studied ingredient out there. And if you want to know more about it and other things it does, just go to PubMed or something and put in creatine. You're not just going to get, performance enhancement studies. You're going to see hundreds of studies from depression, irritable bowel syndrome. Creatine is one of the most amazing products out there that can be used for so many things, and it's just not used as much as it should be. But it was a commodity item. People in sports have been using it for years. How does it work? Well, in the body, there's something called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and that is the molecule that is the energy currency of the body. That molecule creates the energy for muscle contraction, and ATP is adenosine triphosphate. It's one part adenosine, 3 phosphate molecules. When it's triggered, the terminal, the 3rd phosphate molecule, will release, it'll split. And the energy stored in that bond releases, and that's the energy that gives us muscle contraction, that fuels muscle contraction. Okay, when it splits, you're left with ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and a free-floating phosphate molecule. So there's creatine floating around. Creatine then bonds with that phosphate, creating creatine phosphate. And now you have adenosine diphosphate, creatine phosphate. They then will merge. So the phosphate on the creatine phosphate will break. That energy in that bond is used to rebond that phosphate to adenosine diphosphate, creating adenosine triphosphate. So it's this, cycle of adenosine triphosphate releasing energy. Phosphate separates, it bonds back. You have ATP, and you keep recycling. So the limiting part of that whole cycle is creatine. When we take creatine supplementation, we increase the stores of creatine there, so it allows that adenosine triphosphate to recycle at a quicker pace by building up that limiting factor of creatine there. So, it's an amazing product. It used to be kind of crappy years ago because lousy creatine was coming in and people would bloat. When you hear that now, that don't get cheap creatine, I don't really, until right now where somebody kind of screwed with it and put maltodextrin, I haven't seen creatine under 97%. In I don't know, 10, 15 years out there. So just about every bit of creatine on the market that I've seen is good. I'm sure there's batches of people cheating along the way, but creatine has been really good. So you have this commodity item that everybody wants, and they're paying crazy price for it because it's a staple in their diet. And it's going up and up and up. It's just starting to turn. But it is an important thing. It's good for men. It's good for women. Women don't take it because they think they're going to bulk up and they think they're going to bloat. The water that goes into your body from creatine is going inside the muscle, not outside. So you're not really getting that bloating. It's going to help you increase strength. It's going to help in recovery. It's going to help in a lot of ways. And people know that. It's been around for forever, and it's the most studied product out there. So as the price goes up, people are fighting for it. It's terrible. It's horrible, but it's happening. And hopefully it's going to turn around soon. I've been using EndurElite for years. Are you going to be changing the products? Will you hurt the effectiveness? So another question like that again. No, we will not be hurting the effectiveness at all. The products that are coming out to you now from us have been changed. Matt, myself, and the rest of our formulation team are looking at each one before we go into the manufacture of it. And some of these products haven't been updated in a year, 2 or 3 years. So what we're doing is we're looking at the science that's out there, the research that's out there, new ingredients that are out there, to see how can we make this a better product. And we're making slight changes to it. Let's pull one up and see, to give you an example. The first one we did was the EndurElite capsules. Let me just pull it up here. So just off the top of my head, we had choline bitartrate in there at 300. We increased that to 600 alpha GPC. Alpha GPC is still a choline donor. However, it's much more bioactive. It's quicker releasing. It passes through the blood-brain barrier. So much more effective than just choline coming from the bitartrate form. And it's important because that fast release is what you want. You want to pop these capsules right before you get on a bike, right before you start a race. You don't want that kicking in 2 hours later. You want it to kick in soon. So the idea there is the price of it is like 32 times more expensive than choline bitartrate, so it's not a ingredient that was switched out to save money. It's much more expensive, but if you read up on alpha GPC, it's extremely effective. We added Rodeo Prime, which at a 6% cylinder side is just an amazing ingredient. It's anti-fatigue, it adds energy. Velvet bean extract to help with dopamine, so that wasn't in there before. So as you're under a lot of stress from maybe about an hour into that ride where your dopamine levels start to drop and you start to lose your will, that kicks in and keeps those levels high. Elevate ATP was already in there, caffeine and hydrogen and Finergy. Same exact combination we used in NutraBio. Matt and I worked in that together years ago. He was involved in that as well. Theobromine was the same. Synactive went up from 50 milligrams to 100 milligrams, so we doubled that to the proper dosage. And huperzine, I think, was at 50 micrograms. We doubled that to 100 micrograms. So there's nothing. We took out taurine from here. Taurine is a very inexpensive product, but it's more of a high dose product. You need 2 grams of it in there, and there wasn't nearly enough in here to help. And that's really something that should be in the hydration product. So that was added to hydrate when that product came out. It's not needed here. So we made room in those capsules for other things. So you can see what we did here. It's a much more expensive product for us to produce in version 1, but the science and everything shows better ways to to make it than it was before. And that's what you will see in the products. You will not see us taking stuff out to cheapen it so we get higher margin. You will see us looking at those products and saying, yep, this we can make a little better. This we can make a little better. This we can make a little better. Let's switch this out. And that's just one example, and you'll see that happening. So that's already out for release. Recover Elite, same thing. Some changes on there. You'll see them on the website. That comes out, starts shipping tomorrow, I think, or Monday. Perform Elite X. Be careful because we changed the name to Perform Extreme on that one. And then we took all 3 of those products, Perform Capsules, Perform Elite, and Perform Elite X, and we made them in a way that's understandable. So now the Perform Elite and the Perform Elite X, now Extreme, are identical to start with. Where one had more of this and less of this, and the base ingredients were switched around, we beefed them both up to be identical in that fashion. But then the extreme version has clusterdextrin added and ornithine added and citrulline. It used to have citrulline malate at 6 grams. We pulled that out because there is no real citrulline malate on the market. It's a 2-to-1. So you're getting a lot of malic acid in there instead of citrulline. So you're going from 4 grams of actual citrulline in there to what we have in there now, which is 6 grams of citrulline. And you still have the malic and citric acid that we have in there for the flavoring. So again, everything's been made better, enhanced. And this is not a put down to Matt. Matt is doing this with us. But when these products were created years ago, there was one of the things that he wants to do, one of the reasons he's getting out, so he can focus on formulation, and somebody is there to be able to have the finances to say, okay, it's time. Let's make this product better. So Matt and I are working in each one of those products to make it better every step of the way, and you can have confidence in that. Whey Isolate is through the roof all over the internet. Every single brand. I can't afford it anymore. When will it come back down? I do not know. So Whey concentrate started the issue. All this is made in the USA, so this had nothing to do with imports and transportation or any of that stuff from China. All of our proteins are made here in the USA. Concentrate got very, very tough to get, and it started to increase in price. China is part of the cause of that problem because originally they were buying all the concentrate out and they were paying 2 to 3 times the price to get it out there. What I've heard, how true that is they had that swine flu problem. They lost a big part of their pig population, and they were buying all this to start rebuilding it. Whatever it is, that kind of started it. Internationally, whey protein is going crazy. It's there's so much export from here outside of the U.S. that there's so much more demand for it is causing a shortage of it. And here in the United States, through COVID, sports supplement dropped. After COVID ended, sports supplement did not come back to where it was. It is shooting up higher and higher. More people understand that they've got to, be in shape. More people are working out than ever. More people are in the gym and just doing sports than ever. And the demand for supplements is higher when the supply is lower. So that's causing a problem. Isolate just went up again this week. It's been going up every single week. Concentrate has kind of leveled off and actually has not gone up in the last month. It's you might see it higher or lower depending on who you're buying it from, but that's kind of stabilized. But we don't know what's going on with Isolate. You can't get it. If you're trying to be a new customer, a new company, some of these dairy manufacturers are not taking customers for another year. So it is a shortage of it out there. It is expensive, and it's going to continue that way for a bit of time, and I don't know when, but I will start doing my updates again. So if you as a customer, BioCrew member, want to see what's going on, you can look there, and I'm going to keep you up to date on that. Just remember, NutraBio will be following those prices, and the second we can get something cheaper at the same quality, we will drop those prices back down to you. Are you planning on opening or acquiring more brands? No. I'm not acquiring or opening brands just to have more and more brands. I've done it for specific reasons, and I explained kind of the EndurElite reason of why I wanted to do that and why I think it works so well with NutraBio and how it allows us to focus on two different things at one time with the same quality. So no, I'm not looking to buy another brand right now or to open or acquire or do anything like that. If something happens that makes sense for NutraBio, that makes sense for the NutraBio customer, that makes the company stronger in that way and improves quality and everything else, then that's something, yes, that I would look at, but I have no intentions of it now. Why do you put L-theanine in pre? Doesn't it counter the effects of caffeine? Yes and no. So a lot of people out there complain about me putting it in there, saying that it hurts the effects of caffeine, but that's not true. It counters the negative effects of caffeine, but it also accentuates the positive effects. So there's research out there that shows L-theanine will extend the action of creatine, make it last longer and give you more effect from it. But what it also does is it stops that jitteriness from that happens, and that's why I love it. So our regular pre's have 350 milligrams of caffeine in there. If you take that in one shot and you down it, you're going to start getting jittery, you're going to start to shake, you're going to feel like this. That's not what you want from caffeine. That's what stim junkies want from caffeine. The people are buying these pre-workouts that are just loaded the hell with stims because they think that's what they need when they're in the gym. They rely on that. But that's not what caffeine is for. It's not to get you all excited and shaky and make you feel that. It's supposed to improve your mood. It's supposed to be anti-fatigue. It's supposed to give you energy. If I could give you creatine that you did not feel at all, not creatine, I'm sorry, caffeine. If I could give you caffeine that you do not feel at all, you don't even feel it in your head, you don't feel it in your hands, you feel nothing at all, but all it does is keep you at that high level of focus and concentration of energy that you need to be. That's what I would want. And that's what L-theanine helps me do. By putting it in there at a high dosage of 350 milligrams of caffeine, it levels off. It stops that shakiness. It stops the jitteriness. You're still getting that anti-fatigue that you get from caffeine. You're still getting that more focus you're getting and that mental energy, but you're not shaking, okay? And I haven't met an athlete yet who tells me, I want to shake in the gym. When I give them, when we tested higher dosages of caffeine, they're like, no, dude, if I'm doing a set, if I'm doing a curl, I'm trying to focus 100% of my energy and focus and drive on that one curling motion. I don't want to be shaking. I don't want to be walking around the gym looking and listening to everything I hear. And that's what over caffeine can do to you. So the idea is I don't want that. I want you focused and energized, and that's it. That's why I mix the two, and it's worked phenomenally for years. The other thing about it is caffeine builds tolerance in your body. If I start you at 150, you're going to need 200, then 300, then 400, then 500. The more you take, the less it works, the more you need. If we can keep that down lower, then we don't have such a high tolerance for it. We don't have to add more and more and more. And if you're taking pre-workout and you're working out every day, you shouldn't be taking my pre-workout with caffeine every day. Get the non-caffeinated versions for your days where you don't really need it. Because if you get off caffeine for 2 to 3 days, there's research that shows how much that tolerance drops and how much more it'll affect you later on in the week when you take it. So yeah, I'm a believer in caffeine, But I'm a believer in the right amount of caffeine, the right use of caffeine, and not overdoing it, not becoming dependent on caffeine. Because the day I have to have caffeine to go to the gym more than once in a while, but I need it, is the day I don't want to go to the gym anymore. So that's why we put it in there, and it works. And by the way, alpha EAA came from that theory. You know, everybody's drinking caffeine, drinks all day, coffee all day. They start in the morning with coffee and they're just downing these things all day long. And there's so much caffeine that they're becoming more and more dependent on. And we said, well, what can we do? What kind of drink can we put out there that's not going to do that? So that's where alpha EAA came from. We took our EAA product, which is BCAAs and essential amino acids in it, and we put good nootropics in there without caffeine. And everybody originally wanted caffeine there. I said, no, let's create a drink that you can sip all day. The aminos in there keep your body anabolic, so you're continuing to repair and build muscle tissue. We put in there nootropics, so that midday slump, you're drinking it, your brain starts to focus more, you get more drive and energy in, whether it's in the gym or sitting here in office or whatever you do, but you're not building up that dependency on caffeine. And it's probably one of my top 2 favorite products that we ever done. So I think I went a little long on that answer. I don't know how much more time we're going to be here. When is the Signature Series pre-coming out? Okay, that's a loaded question. Pre-3D, we called it. We announced it, 6 or 7 months ago. It is coming out soon. I can't give you a date yet. Probably within the next 10 days or so, we can hone in on that date. The problems with it were supply chain issues. The ingredients that we're putting in there are not easy to get. And there's a quality issue where we could not get some of them. And let me say, one of the ingredients we're using there is Pump 3D, done by my good friend Bruce Neller. And his group of people. That product we have, it's fine, it's tested, it's perfect. So when I say we have an issue, everybody knows that's in there. That's not the issue. They're making great stuff. We've checked it out. I wouldn't use it if it wasn't perfect. But there are other issues with ingredients, and I will not make the product and I will not get it to you if it's not sourced perfectly and if every ingredient's not there. So we are working on that. We're redoing some flavoring right now, and I hope to be able to announce more information to you probably in the next week to week and a half. Non-stim pre-workout with nootropics in our non-stim pre-workout with nootropics in the work. Well, we do have pre in a non-stim, so there's no caffeine or stim in there, and there are some nootropics. There's huperzine, there's tyrosine, there's choline bitartrate in there. But to answer that, yes, in addition to my Signature Series pre that's going to be coming out, regular pre and its counterpart pre-extreme are in the midst of their update. I don't even know what V it is, version 6, 7, 8 anymore, but yes, that is changing. And I can tell you right now, alpha GPC will be replacing choline bitartrate. There will be more nootropics in there. The caffeine won't be any higher, and that will be duplicated to the caffeine-free version. So all the enhancements we do to regular pre will come through with that higher nootropics and the other things that we're going to do with the pre-caffeine free. So you will see there. Whether we're going to do another pre, I don't think so, because that pre is the all-in-one. It's got everything in it. Will we do something like we did with Unbound, which we have a stim only pre, so it's stim and nootropic only. It doesn't have pump in there. It doesn't have any ergogenic other things in there. It doesn't have hydration. All it is focus, nootropic, and stim. We might do something with NutraBio like that, where it doesn't have everything else in it. It's just that portion of it, and whether we use caffeine or not, I don't know yet. But there are some products right now in the works, and we'll announce them when we have them. But for that question, look for the new pre maybe in 2-3 months as this runs out and comes with higher nootropics in there. Everyone talks about quality. What makes NutraBio so different? Yeah, everybody says our products are the best. There's no company out there that doesn't. Interesting, I forgot the word for it, but I was at a seminar a few weeks ago, and the attorneys were talking about all these lawsuits and class action lawsuits are out there, and how you can't say anything about your product without being able to substantiate that with research. But there's one type of claim, and I forgot what they called it. It's so weird. It's like bragging claims, where you say, "Oh, my product is the best in the world." That's allowed. And you can't get sued over that, because it's known that it's bullshit. And any consumer that reads "my product is the best in the world" knows it's bullshit, so nobody can come after you and sue you for making those outrageous claims like "this is the best in the world, there's nothing better." So it's kind of interesting, and that's what everybody does. My product is the best. So I guess it's how you define quality, how you define the best. For me, it comes down to two things. Quality is what's in the product, how it's made, and does it match the promise. So those three things. So I can start out with my manufacturing. Everybody knows my manufacturing here. Everybody knows it is the best of the best of the best. Are there other companies that can manufacture this good? Yes, I'm sure there are. So I'm not saying that. But I'm saying we manufacture the best possible abilities we can. No I's undotted, no T's uncrossed. Our SOPs are there for every step of the way to make sure that we're manufacturing an amazing quality product. However, I can make that product, here's a pre, old bottle pre, and it's exactly manufactured to the best standards in the world. But if the formulation sucks, all I have is a well-manufactured tub of shit. So you have to know that manufacturing has to be great, but if it's filled with underdosed ingredients and prop blends and all this stuff, then you still have a garbage product. So you have to have good manufacturing. You have to have a product that is formulated well so that what is in there is good and doing it, and then it's got to match the claim that I'm making, part 3. You know, if I'm saying this is going to do X, Y, and Z, I have to formulate to X, Y, and Z so that you get the benefit of it. The ingredients have to be manufactured to the best possible ability. The product has to be manufactured to the best possibility. So A, quality manufacturing. 2, efficacious formulation. And 3, the formulation matches the promise. Because if it's a great ingredient, a great product, greatly formulated and greatly manufactured, but it's telling you it's doing something it's not, then it's no good either. So those are the 3 things that I think about when I say my product is a high quality product and the best I can do. Formulation, manufacturing, and matching my promise that I give to you, the consumer. Are we doing anything with fish oil? Yeah, we've had a fish oil that was supposed to launch much, much stronger and potent than what we have right now, but supply chain kind of messed that up. Now, the one thing you should know about our fish oil is we do not manufacture our soft gels. So those couple products that are in soft gel is not something we manufacture. The issue with that is before I can get something else, I have to know that factory inside and out. I have to inspect that factory the same way I would inspect my own factory. And supply chain did not allow that. So that's sitting on the back burner. The product that you have now is a lower dosage of fish oil. It's very, very inexpensive compared to everybody out there. So you can pop them all day. There's no regurgitation of that fishy taste or anything like that. So it's a great product. It's just an average dosage of there in it, but it's manufactured really well. We're going to increase that, and we're going to keep that one out because everybody seems to want it every time I want to get rid of it. But I don't know. I'm guessing maybe 6 months for that to come out. When is MRP coming back? MRP will come back, I would say within 6 months. The supply chain caused problems, protein caused problems with it, and it's also being reformulated to have more whole foods in it. And those ingredients were not available, so we considered just bringing it back the way it is temporarily while we were reformulating it. I don't have a final decision on that. We might bring it back for a little bit, or we might just wait until the new product, the reformulated product with whole foods, is in there. I'll let you know as I get more information. I hear rumors of a wellness line coming out. Yes, not a wellness line coming out. NutraBio has always been in wellness. When we launched back in 1996, and our first group of products were half sports nutrition products and half wellness. We had an immune product called Immune Guard, OptiCleanse, which was a cleansing product. We had Menorex and Femorex, which were men's hormone and women's hormonal balance products. So we've always been in the wellness category. We've never been a strict sports performance only, sports nutrition only company. We've always done both. That's why during COVID, we were so easily able to switch some things around and create first response and knew what we were formulating, because we've been formulating that fashion for years for that, and get that out and create lungs at that time and immune at that time, because we've already done a dozen or so immune products over the years. We already had zinc, we already had vitamin C, we already had all these products. So we're not coming out with a new one, we are just coming out with a more rounded one. So let me see some of the products. We're doing a liver product, a really strong liver only product. We're doing a heart product. We're doing a kidney product. Let me see if I can find the list. Because there's a lot. Probably Dan's already screaming at me that I'm letting information out that I shouldn't be. And I'm not telling you this is coming out next week, but there's an eye product for stress, blood pressure, prostate, heart, kidney, liver. A lot of the products that we have right now that are in the wellness category already, like lungs, like joint care, and immune, and that stuff are going to continue to come out, and they'll all be in one wellness line. So there's like 8 or 9 wellness products that we have now. We're going to add to it this other one, and you should expect to start seeing those come out probably in the next quarter. And I think the lungs, that's already out. I think it's going to be like liver and kidney and stuff like that coming out first. So yes, we will be expanding our existing wellness line. Are you thinking of developing a PCT? For those who don't know, that's a post-cycle therapy. So I guess, am I going to be developing something for people taking steroids to restore, the balance of their hormonal system? Probably not. That's not my gig. That's not something I know. However, I mean, if you look at something like that, what's it going to be? It's going to be something that is a testosterone booster, or something that works with estrogen balance, or liver detox. So yeah, we will have a liver detox product. We will have a hormonal balance product. We will have a test booster. So if that's your thing and that's what you're into, we'll have the strongest in each of those categories. We are coming out with a really, really strong organ product overall. I can't say more about it because, again, I'm going to be nailed by Dan next door on talking too much about it. So there will be things within our line for that, absolutely, but it's not my thing. Last question, and it's a long one. Creatine shortages made by the supplement industry in the USA to inflate the price. Don't get fooled. In Europe, the price of creatine is 30% cheaper than the USA with absolutely no shortage. Explain that. 99% of the creatine in the world is produced in China. Explain to me why Europe has no shortage and competitive prices from the same source. It sounds more like the U.S. industry decided to fool Americans to put more money in their pockets. Excited to hear your argument. Well, not to criticize, but that line is pretty much all bullshit. There is a creatine shortage. The creatine shortage was caused by China shutting down factories, the handful of factories that were manufacturing. Some of them shut down on their own because the base ingredients needed to manufacture creatine were very high pollutants and very high uses of energy to create them. So China had shut down a lot of factories for energy consumption because they had an energy crisis. They shut down entire zones for pollution because they weren't meeting Xi's pollution protocols. And the main ingredients for creatine are also used in PVC piping, which to China was much more important than getting creatine to us here in the US. So a lot of those raw materials went toward that manufacturing. That is why there is a creatine shortage, and that's why it is so high. I wish I could say that was true, because if that was true, then I could say that our industry was good enough to be able to get together and make, and affect prices and affect shortages and group together, because if we could do that, we could group together for good things as well. But we have a very splintered industry that we don't all get together, and we cannot create shortages as a whole, because as you see, creatine is gone across the board. If you went on Amazon, there were hundreds of brands. They were down to 10 brands sporadically. If you went to GNC, they were out totally. All these organizations are not shutting down just so a few of us that had creatine can inflate the price. So I think those are some rumors done by somebody out in the blogosphere, and unfortunately you're picking up on that, but not true. There is no creatine out there. It's a problem. For whey, absolutely no shortage of whey either, he wants me to comment on. The increase of milk is real. Whey is a waste of cheese industry. Whoever tell you the opposite is a big liar. Have you seen a shortage of cheese at the grocery? No, then there's no whey shortage. Well, that's not true. So if there's yes, what's true is that whey is a byproduct of manufacturing cheese. Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet eating her curds and whey. Curds is the cheese, whey is what's left over. 20, 30 years ago, that whey was thrown out because they had no use for it until somebody realized it had a really good protein content if you can get all the liquid out of there, all the lactose out of there, and all the shit out of there, and you can concentrate it or isolate it. It was great. And that's what whey is. If you have a shortage of cheese, you have a shortage of whey. But if cheese is at full manufacturing and the demand for whey is higher than the demand for cheese, you can't make more whey because the whey comes from the limit of what the cheese is. And that's what's happening right now. China bought all of our whey up earlier.